Hello, ladies. That photograph, Karen, is really funny because it looks like you're actually there. It's just really interesting. So, welcome back.
Hello,
Hi, Karen, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Good. Did you sort out your technology things?
I've really had a hard time, but I think it's just me.
It's not just you. Technology takes some getting used to. And, I think that everyone who's here is ahead of the curve, to be honest. Um, it's amazing what we can do. It's amazing that I can be here and you can be there and we can go on a course and we can do a yoga class and have the stuff on your phone. It's amazing that we can do that, but it's a learning curve and it can be glitchy to get to that particular position. So I would take your hand and pat yourself on the back for getting as far as you've got because it's not simple or straightforward.
I did wonder, is this going to be available? Like, this will be here and I can keep going back to it?
Yeah, I was just saying before that it's going to be up for at least a few months, so that you can catch up. If you're behind, you can catch up with the videos, you can catch up with the practices, you can continue to do your meditations. So yes, it's going to be still up for a few months. So you can do the catch up thing.
Okay.
So there's something I wanted to do with you guys that are here, and I'd like you to get a piece of paper and a pen. Have you all got one?
Yes.
Do we need time? Do we
Um,
need a minute?
1 minute.
1 minute. Okay. I'll give you a couple of minutes and gonna go through some things with you guys. Oh, wait, I know what I want to do. I want to see if I share my screen, what happens. Yeah. Okay, so I think I know. I think I got it. So there's a few minutes. It's interesting. I was just listening to something that was talking about how this time, which is an interesting time, is actually creating meta physicians, those who work with metaphysical principles to understand how to be alchemists. And being an alchemist means to understand that everything is vibration and everything is frequency, and that we can create a frequency of our choosing. We can create a vibration of our choosing, and we can bring our lead and turn it into gold by bringing our lower frequency and our lower vibration into our higher frequency and our higher vibration of our choosing. So when I say that, do you guys understand what I mean by that? I just want to check in with each of you and see if that makes sense to you, and if you feel like at this particular point on our journey that that's something that you can do, or are you feeling like you struggle with it, or whatever is true with that. I want to check in with each of you and see where you are with it. So Melissa, you're first up on my screen, so I'm going to ask you first. What do you think of that, and where are you?
So I know and understand
Yeah,
how it works.
yeah.
I still do not have the ability to do it myself.
What goes on for you? What do you feel like is the obstacle or the struggle with that?
I think mostly it's my head.
Uh,
I think I might be overthinking it, or that I'm just, I don't know, maybe it's just a whole state of mind that just mean, there are times that I just don't feel like my body is my body, and I'm still trying to get into all of that. So,
Interesting. Or your heart is your heart. So if when we do the practice, and I go to visualize someone or something that you love and feel that feeling, what happens for you in that practice?
most of the time I'm okay with it. I mean, because most of the time my dog is sitting here right here with me, and she's either leaning up against me, so it's easy enough to focus on that. Um, but other times, it will bring tears to my eyes, and not for any particular reason. It's just, I think my past is still getting in the way of a lot of my healing.
Well, I think you're further down this track than you actually know, because, tears coming down the face, and it isn't always crying. I think there's a difference between tears coming down the face and crying, and you will know if it's crying or if it's tears coming down the face, because very often when we're in a practice of healing, and very often for me, my eyes will water. And it's not because I'm crying, it's because it's a way to energetically release through the eyes. And so the way that you answered the question tells me a lot, right? It tells me that, yeah, you know that when you touch your dog or when you're close to your dog, you love your dog. So you're in that love vibration, and you know when you're in it and you know when you're not in it, right? Is that true?
Yeah.
Right, that's it. You are a metaphysician. That is it, because you're making a conscious choice to go into a certain frequency, and you are in it when you make that choice, because you're getting those responses, right? So I think sometimes it can be just a question of knowing what's it and what's not it, what it can be, because it's not a thought place or a thinking place, it's a feeling place, and it's an energetic frequency and vibration that can be just subtle enough to kind of know, yeah, I love my dog, and I can get into that frequency. Tilly helps me all the time throughout the day to remember to come back into that frequency. And even though it's a small thing, it's a massive thing. It's a big thing, even though it's a little thing, to know that you can come back into that love frequency, because that is the thing that you want to bring your not knowingness to. You want to bring your confusion to that vibration. And just imagine just dropping it in. Okay, I'm just going to drop in my confusion into that heart feeling space. That's alchemical, right? Because you're bringing your lead of confusion into the gold of the love, and it's elevating up. And even if you're not feeling it instantly or in the moment, trust that you're a practitioner of that alchemical journey. Does that make sense?
I think so.
So I would say keep practicing, because the highest truth of healing our emotions is the ABC: awareness, breath, compassion. So it's awareness that I'm in a lower vibration or a challenge or a struggle mentally. I can breathe into it just by doing the practices that through the yoga, breathing. That you're like, those breathing techniques in the yoga are pretty advanced breathing techniques for how to do that transmutation process. And so if you just remember, like if you're bringing a confusion into the heart, you know that the heart breathing is the Ujjayi breath. So you can bring the Ujjayi breath into the confusion, and you're touching it and you're melting it and you're impacting it in that cycle of breathing. So awareness, breath, compassion is how you transmute an emotion from a lower frequency to a higher frequency. And we've also got on the course that those light techniques that I share about, the heart and above, you can do a pant, if something feels stuck or not met energetically, or the heart and below, you can do a 4-2 breath. I think it might be just a question of, as you go through your day, knowing that you've got those techniques and you can apply them in each of those moments. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, because I do, anytime I feel uncomfortable in the heart, I always pant, and usually within about 5 minutes it'll go away. But I did forget that I can do it also for the throat and on up. So that's nice to be reminded of that.
Yeah, you know, because we've gone through a series of 7 weeks and you guys have been given a lot of tools. And very often when you're given a tool, you're like, okay, that's great. I can understand that. But what we forget, which is the most important piece, is that practical application piece. It's like throughout a normal course of a day, oh yeah, I can do that with this problem. I mean, I'm a practitioner and I'm a teacher and I've been doing it for 30 years and I still forget, you know, oh, I've been sitting here for 10 minutes stewing in this thing when I could have just come to my breathing, my awareness, my breath, my compassion, and transmuted it. So then I'm in my metaphysician seat. So I want to invite and encourage you guys to utilize that practical application as much as you can remember, because that is the transformative edge. All right.
That makes sense.
Is that good? So have all you guys got pen and paper? Yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we're all good. Okay, so I want you to write down these questions and I want you to write down the answers for me. So the first question is, on this course, what have you found most beneficial? And I want you to just write down the first thing that pops up for you, just whatever it is that pops up first, and give that a number 1. And then I want you to take another couple of minutes and then write the next thing that comes up. Or if there isn't a next thing and there's only just one thing, then just keep the one thing. But I want the first thing to come from your subconscious mind body and the other things to float up, maybe from your head or maybe from your heart or maybe from your spirit, wherever they float up from on the next thing that you want to write down. And I'm just going to give you a minute to do that. Okay. So complete what you're writing right now. And then the next question is, what have you found most challenging in this 7-week program? What's been most difficult for you? So just let the first thing that pops up, pop up, and then, you know, take a couple of minutes to write the next couple of things that have been challenging for you. It can be a practical thing, finding the time, having the energy, having the focus, you know, getting the technology, not understanding something, whatever it is that you found most challenging. I want you to take a minute or so to write that, whatever that comes up for you. So you can start completing that question. And then number 3, the next question is, what would you like to see more of? What do you feel like it would have been good if that was included, but it wasn't included, or you saw a glimpse of something and you wanted to see more of that particular thing? Allow the first thing to just rise up. What would you like to see more of? And then just let that come up. And then I'm going to give you a minute or so to write whatever else comes up after that. There may be nothing, there may be something, just whatever it is that rises up for you around that question. So then the last question that I'm going to ask is, what would you like to see less of? What was it that was too much or too challenging or distracting or not helpful for you on this course and in this last 7 weeks on your journey? It could be something on the course, it could be something within you, you know, wherever you want to go with it. Just let the first thing that rises up come up, and then I'll give you a minute to write out whatever else it is that comes up. And then we'll kind of come together and have a conversation. Okay. Alrighty, so I'm just going to check in with each of you the answers to those questions, because, you know, I design these courses around you in what works for you and what you like, what you don't like, what you need, what you don't need. So it's very beneficial for me and for you to kind of have this conversation and have this feedback and see what comes up. So Melissa, I'm going to check in with you first, since you're first on my screen, and we've already had a little chat. So what was the answer to the first question for you of what you found most beneficial?
I found most beneficial the helping and the clearing. Let's back up. The clearing and balancing of the chakra meditations.
Okay.
I still do those, or at least the clearing ones, at least once a week, just to kind of keep moving forward.
That's great, and that's a good idea, you know, especially if you're resonating with something. It's good to, you know, stay back in touch with it. The clearing can go through layers and layers of information, and trust your higher self to know when you need to get back to that and when you need to use that tool. And with the balancing one, what I recommend, if you can, and you know, sometimes I don't even do this, but if you can do it like 2 times a week, get that breathing, it goes, clears all the pipes through your chakra system. It's really, really beneficial. So thank you. Thank you for that. And what did you find most challenging?
There was so much information that was being given. It was hard to digest it within the week and then move on to the next lesson.
Okay, so it might have been better to either have more time or less information on each one of the modules for you.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because it was hard to get to all of it within the time frame. Okay, good to know. Thank you for that. And what would you like to see more of?
I didn't have anything that I wanted to see more of or that I wanted to see less. I really enjoyed everything that I was going through. I liked all the videos. I mean, I think it was a good balance of everything that you had in there. I just think it was too much information and needed to be broken down a little bit further.
Okay, good to know. Thank you. Thanks, Melissa. Because this is an introductory course. So yeah, I've got a lot of information and I tend to want to share it, but it's good to know that it's maybe helpful for you to have more little bite-sized pieces of information at a time to help you digest it.
Correct.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thanks, Melissa. That's super helpful. Thank you. Karina, you're next on my screen, so I'm going to check in with you. and ask you those kind of questions again. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, so what did you find most beneficial on the course?
Well, the first word that came to my mind was relaxation.
Oh, okay.
Second thing I thought was good was just increased awareness of my own healing power. So
Ah,
that was really important.
how did that come in for you?
Well, it's just been a while since I'd done this type of practice in real earnest. And, it was just nice to be able to feel so much better at the end of each class.
Hmm.
So, knowing that I have that ability, with your facilitation and hopefully later, just within myself, what have you. But it's just nice to know, to
Yes.
and yeah.
And what did you find most challenging for you?
I guess I would mirror what Melissa said just a little bit. I wrote down finding the time, but I put slash when I was ill because I wasn't feeling that great, and so it was harder for me to have that extra time. And then I found my own self just not focusing properly. Like I sat down to do this, and then I would get distracted and do something else.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing I could think of was maybe in your modules, it's kind of like, these are the need to know, like for sure do these two. And then
Okay.
nice to know if you got time, then do this third thing. But, do your best to get these two need to knows in or something, I don't know.
That's good. That's a good need to know and nice to know. I like that distinction because there are some things in there that are, that are more optional, that are like just, yes, this supports this root foundational piece of information. So that's a really good piece of feedback. So what would you like to see more of, do you think?
Well, I can't say for sure what I missed. So I'll just say given that I missed a couple classes,
Okay.
and I still haven't gone back and listened to the past classes. I personally am interested in just like practicing intuition things, practicing with my intuition. So you may have done that. You probably did or what have you, but I missed it. So
Practicing with your intuition. Do you mean like with a partner or just with yourself?
Either way.
Okay.
Yeah, either way.
Alrighty. And what would you like to see less of?
No, I don't have really a less of.
Okay. Thank you, Karina. Any last comments or anything else you want to add to that? Or does that feel like a complete communication for you?
I think the only last thing is just maybe a couple more kind of in the same line, like just a little couple more hints on how to go through the course because I don't know why, or maybe it just didn't say this is week 1, this is week 2, this is week 3, or, and so then all of a sudden I found myself plodding along and not knowing how far to go or if I went too far, or if I wasn't going fast enough. So.
Right. So clarify that module 1 is week 1 and module 2 is week 2 and module 3 is week 3.
I mean, it sounds so silly to say now, but I think it could be that I came in a week. I heard about the course after it started. I might have missed all the stuff. So that's probably what it is actually, because I wasn't clear how long it was. There's a lot of stuff I didn't know, but again, I missed your first class. So.
Well, yeah, it's funny because I did start by putting it week 1 and week 2, and then I changed it to module 1 and module 2, but I can't remember why I changed it from week 1 to module 1, but it might just be as simple as just putting it back to week 1, week 2, week 3, so that it's really clear, because I think that navigation through the course piece is something that I'm continuing to learn about, about how that could be seamless and how it could be really smooth for people for it to be obvious, to really know how to get through it. So that's good feedback. So thank you for that, Karina.
A great course. I've really loved it.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I'm glad it was helpful to you. And Karen, are you there?
Cal?
Hey, Karen. So I
Hi.
want to check in with you. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah.
So, what did you find most beneficial in the course?
Well, when you first asked, I just wrote like being with you,
Sweet.
my favorite part,
Mm,
because I love you and you've helped me so much for so many years. Like you're the guiding light in my life, so I just felt happy to even
that's
see you.
sweet. Thank you.
I haven't been in the best spot. It was our fiscal year end, and I just had a lot of other like issues, and I think I should have tried to study like all the tech. I felt like basically some of the things I could download and some I couldn't, and some I could print and some I couldn't. And I didn't know how to save each type of document. And I do work on a PC for work, so usually I'm pretty adept with computer skills, but I was using my iPad or Charles's Macintosh computer. So I wasn't, um, and then I didn't always know where the Zoom links were for how to get on.
Mm, okay.
So I just felt like, I mean, my favorite thing, okay, so I'll just finish the tech thing just so we can finish that.
Okay.
I think it would be helpful to just every single week put the actual Zoom meeting number, even if it seems repetitive,
Mm,
just so that people know like the date and then the Zoom meeting number.
okay. That's
But
simple enough. Yeah. And also, I think that I, I I thought that I'd enabled the download on all of the documents, but it's possible that I didn't. So you said some of the documents you could download and some of the documents you couldn't download.
yes, and then
Hmm.
some of them I could print, and
Mm-hmm.
some printed in this like super tiny print.
Hmm.
And I just wasn't really familiar with that format. And like, usually if I take a course, I'll try to like, get through every word of it and really go through it. But part of it was I was short on time, and part of it was really just that I was using a different, I'm used to PC and I was using an iPad and a Mac. So I didn't really know how to save some of these or print them. I didn't know. Charles was trying to help me, but I definitely think that the Zoom links for each week would be helpful.
Yeah, that's helpful. That's
And
good
then,
to know.
but besides that, like the most important thing I think that I feel that I learned is that, um, like today I was in so much pain. I have spinal stenosis in my neck.
Mm,
I was in agony when we started, but by the end, I had no pain when we were laying on the floor. I couldn't believe it. And it
excellent.
is really true that
Excellent.
motion is lotion. And, moving the energy through the system of the chakras. And I think the most important thing that I learned was that, like, I really do have the power to connect with my higher power and even the universal love and energy,
Mm,
but I have to be clear and I have to be willing and I have to be wanting to receive that information. And that the negative automatic thoughts
mm,
will like really destroy your sense of well-being or happiness. It's
mm,
like this illusion
mm,
and a pattern that's
mm.
not even real. It's fate. It's like not even helpful. It's usually worrying about stuff that will never happen. So I really appreciate the chakra practice and everything that you're doing to try to help people to realize that if they can just tune in and clear their chakras and be receptive and give it up to the universe that it's all really accessible in a very pure and beautiful way for you to be your best self and for you to actually have your best self to give to yourself and to the world, to your heart, and to the people and pets that you love, and even beyond. And I'm admired in this quagmire of like negative thinking and worrying. And so you reminded me that we have our own power to create like beauty or misery, and we really can choose.
That's beautiful, Karen. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, did you feel like through the course of time that you got more clear about how you get seduced with negative thinking patterns? Were you able to identify what those habitual thoughts were for you?
I really feel like since I had so many issues this whole time with just all kinds of things, I feel like I had this huge download today. And I was like taking notes during the yoga, even.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything just went through me at once today, and I realized everything, like the whole course, basically.
Wow. That's so good to hear, Karen. And, you know, I love you sharing this in this group format because, you know, it's different me saying that that's possible and this is what you can do and this is what you can arrive at, but it's totally different hearing it from you as a participant who's going through it and has that moment where you find that place of connection. And as you say, it can happen at any moment in any one of the practices, and even outside of the practices, as a consequence of the practices, you can get that aha, that moment where you go, oh wow, this is my habitual pattern. This is how
Yes.
hoodwinks me, and this is where it takes me. And like in this moment, I can get out of it. So I love to hear that, and I love that you're sharing that with others here, so we can all benefit from knowing that that really does happen, and it really is possible.
I did have one other thing. I did stop myself from the negative automatic thoughts and said, like, this is not real. It's a waste of time. Like, along the course, I have done that. So you are right. I did notice moments where I was being seduced to the negative. It's really hard for me to not go there. I'm a real worrier. It's like I have to break that pattern. But one thing that was the most significant is I laid awake like at like 4 a.m, experiencing extreme terror, like in my heart chakra. I was terrified and I didn't really even know what it was. And I started doing the breathing. And I remember also I'm working with a therapist who said the only way to get healthier is to feel the fear and to do it anyway. Like I was afraid of a specific thing. And it's basically like being in love with my boyfriend. And so I did the breathing. And I kept breathing, and then I like literally my whole heart chakra opened up and I felt love.
Wow.
And it was one of the more incredible experiences I've ever had in my life. So thank you.
I love that, Karen. I love that you're sharing that level of transformation that can happen for you. Also, you know, I want to address something that Karina had said, and you're reminding me of it here. There is a connection between living in a place of clarity and connection to the self and living the intuitive life. So the intuitive life, the creative life, the happy life, all comes as a consequence of the practices. So the practices navigate you towards these benefits. These benefits come as a consequence of navigating through the obstacles and getting into that sort of channel and Karina, I would invite you to go towards last week's session where we talked about how to live in the flow and live in the intuitive way, to sort of respond to the question that you raised up about intuitive practice, and that might be sort of beneficial and helpful. But I love what you're sharing, Karen, because those moments of breakthrough bring untold benefits in all of those different areas of your life, in how you can elevate your happiness, how you can deepen your connection to your intuition, how you can actually start to manifest the experiences that you're wanting in your life. So as you described, when you felt into the heart and you broke through the fear, through the breathing, then you're in that love channel and you're able to bring that into your relationships. So your relationships can also elevate as you participate in the practices. So I love hearing all of that. Karen, thank you so much.
I don't want to hog too much, but this one other thing I noticed through the course is that I've actually manifested stuff that I didn't want. Usually I think, oh, you worry all these things, it never comes true. A couple things that I worried about, I manifested because I kept thinking these negative thoughts and believing them. I believe them. So it really, you have to be careful.
Right. So that's an important point too. And I think I spoke about this yesterday. I spoke about it somewhere, but I'll repeat it here. So the law of attraction states that you can manifest your reality through your thoughts, and you can bring in what you're wanting. And that's true. But the thing that the law of attraction doesn't emphasize enough, that is extremely important, is that we're going to manifest in physical reality from where our energy is most highly charged. So if our energy is most highly charged in the subconscious mental patterns and the subconscious neural pathways, that's going to manifest in your reality. So we have to go through the work of tipping the scale so that the things that you're choosing with your positive thoughts are the things that are manifesting through your life. So all of the practices that we do, all of the yoga practices, all of the meditation practices that you're connected with, tips that scale so that our energy is more highly charged and more nourished into the thoughts that reflect what we're wanting. And I do want to go into deeper teaching about that, but I think that's for the next level and for the next course. And I know that you already have some information about that because we've worked on some things. And it can be, we do one thing at a time specifically, or we can just generally nourish up the positive affirmations for each of the chakras, and that allows us to tip that scale. And so I feel like if we look into our lives and we look at what's working and what's not working, it's going to tell us what we're doing with our balance between our subconscious mind doing the creation or our conscious mind doing the creation. If we find our subconscious mind is creating through the back door the thing that we don't want, then the solution is to nourish up the subconscious mind and to practice with the conscious mind the affirmations that are contained in the subconscious practices. Does that make sense? Everything that I said just there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's good. It's good to work with our lives and you know, what's being reflected back to us, to say, okay, that's a mirror into what's going on within me. What am I feeding? What am I fueling? What do I need to give less energy to? What do I need to give more energy to turn that ship around and to tip that scale in the energy being more highly charged in the direction of the thing that you want to manifest. So thank you, Karen, for your sharing. I really appreciate that. It's very helpful for me to hear it, and I hope that it's helpful for the other people in the group too, to hear your experience and and how things landed for you through the course, and for everyone else who shared too. Giovanni,
Yeah.
how are you? That,
Everything you just said was very confusing to me. You've been saying it for like decades, and I'm telling you, I still don't. I don't get it. I really
Interesting.
don't get it.
so let's see, Giovanni, can we unpack that a little bit and see?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I guess like my whole experience with the course is I found that I was trying to apply or my experience to your method, not your method, but the method of the course, right?
Mhm.
Like, you know, stopping negative thoughts or noticing them and cutting them off and finding the pattern. And I feel like I was doing that subconsciously, but then I started consciously doing it in accordance with the course. And then it's like, oh, this is a lot of work, but I was doing it all along. So I guess that's helpful now to bring more attention to it in sort of a specific sort of way. But yeah.
So let's just stay here a minute, because there is a process that we go through where we're unconsciously unconscious, then we're consciously unconscious, and then we're consciously conscious. And there's a pathway that we go through in learning. And some things we may know on an unconscious level and automatically be doing the thing that we're supposed to be doing. And then when we bring it into a conscious level, it makes it a little janky. Like it makes like, I was doing it before, but now I'm trying to do it and I can't do it. And that's making it worse. And how is that going to get better? Is that kind of your question?
Yes. And then, I work with other systems too. So
Right.
It was hard for me to do affirmations when I've done mantras. And with mantras, I don't cling to the mantra, right? Like there's a problem with, or the possibility that you would cling to that or cling to the affirmation. I think for me, it's really hard for me to sync up with affirmations, so that I feel like I'm putting it in some place when I just want the space there.
I get it, Giovanni. And I think it's an important point because it's various different practices, right? Because I know you're a practitioner and I know that you are on the path of your journey and your evolution. And I think that the path that you're on is pure spiritual practice, right? You're in Buddhist practice technology. And the area that I work in, that is part of the reason why I'm a big advocate for listening to Joseph Dispenza and his teachings too, is really about how to create the neural pathways that reflect the ideas and the thoughts that you want to manifest. It's a specific technology with a specific focus and a specific purpose, and it's specific tools that are guided meditations with affirmations that is kind of a little different. It's not opposed, but the pure spiritual practice is more about, creating the space within your container so that you can find and connect to your essence, to your pure essence. And I think that the intention behind that is when you found your essence, then all of the rest of the stuff just goes away naturally. Is that correct? Would you say that's correct?
That's pretty darn close, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I guess on the one hand, it's like, for example, like an affirmation to clear the heart. I mean, for example, number 3 of your ABCs is compassion, where there's the mantra of, the Buddha of compassion, Om Mani Padme Hum. And whenever I do that practice, I'm like bawling. I mean, I'm like tears for days. Like even the mention of the name makes me cry, right? And there's the softening, right? So then it's like, okay, well, we'll go over and look at you know, an affirmation, which I like them and I've been listening to them and I think that they're worth, but they are like hitting up against each other, and where this thing is overload, right?
Yeah. So,
Right.
yeah, I think this is a good point. And you know, what I would say is trust your innate knowing. Trust your heart and your intuition to know what's right for you and what is the best way to proceed and create space and create a balance with that.
Yeah.
And also, you know, I would say try to take a look at Joseph Dispenza. I know have you been on? I think you've been on to my Gaia gathering with him.
Yes, Michelle.
Yes, you have. Yes. So also kind of take a listen, just open the space and then
Yeah, I've
let it,
been listening to that. Yeah.
yeah. So let it then just integrate and organize in the best way possible. Just set the intention for that to integrate and organize for the best way possible for your path, for the way in which you can move forward. And then, you know, perhaps you and I could talk separately and privately about how to support you in that journey and in that integrative process around it.
I do think like I see it like the infinity sign, or
Yes.
like the way that they're connected, right? But I just haven't found that. But I'm like in and out, and I know for me that I find like when I do certain things, like for example the quantum meditation, was really cool for me because I can just get up there, you know, into the field. I can just go up there, and that makes sense to me. And then like all the scientists and the Dalai Lama, everyone's talking about quantum physics, and I've been like, you know, listening to that. I don't claim to understand all of it, but that meditation to me syncs up with what is possible and what I experience in other practices. So.
Yeah, you know, I think you're touching on a really important topic. It's a big topic because I feel like, you know, we're in interesting times, and our earth container, our physical container of the earth is changing, and we're being supported externally in being metaphysicians, in being connected to our innate capacities. And what I would want to say is whatever works, you know, whatever way you can get there that way. This is a way that works for some people or most people, but if anything that you bump up against that feels a little janky, I would surrender it and give it a lot of space, and then we can touch base and communicate around what needs to be integrated and what needs to be surrendered and let go of. And I think it's a process of navigating with that, but it's such an important point, because I feel like with the container that we're in right now, things are accelerating, and even practices are shifting and changing, and what we used to do before we may not need to do now, and what we didn't need to do before we might benefit from doing now, and everybody's on their own unique journey. So I think it's a really hot topic and a really good conversation. So I thank you for bringing that to the table.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that the chakra stuff is really interesting and really useful. I still wish that I had more of a sense of them other than when they're out of balance, you know, like,
well, right.
What do they look like? So I've been doing like drawings and stuff.
Oh, okay. So that's what, did you see what I did last week when I unpacked the sixth chakra a little bit?
Yes.
Did you? So that is probably a little bit more information. I was going to do the seventh chakra today, and I do want to touch base with Shannon before I do it to unpack the chakras. So I think it's good to know a little bit more information about what they can do and what they can't do and what they're constructed of, and what the different aspects of a chakra is, to give you more intellectual knowledge. And I've got one last question for you, Giovanni.
Yeah.
I know you've got the first chakra meditation, right?
I do.
So when you do the first chakra meditation, how does that land for you?
It's very shaky.
Shaky.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's sort of like, it's almost like it's split in half, like either a top,
Mm,
bottom or side to side, because like I think that what's going on culturally for me also is like really intense and trying to get grounded and be grounded. I feel definitely more grounded when I talk to other people, like they're losing it, and I'm like, I'm kind of not, but I'm definitely being, you know, like it's being knocked against or bumped against or pushed, you know.
yeah.
And so that is made me unsteady. Like I do feel a bit unsteady. But I've been dancing, like I've been doing dance-a-thons and dance classes and stuff like that. So, you know, which I feel help the root chakra, I think. But yeah, it's unhinged down there.
It's unhinged right now. So what about before all this was going on in the world? Was it different before, or was it the same
It
before?
was probably of this. I think it's more, it's intensified.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I think mentally, I think that it's not, but physically,
Yeah.
psychologically, it's unhinged. So maybe that's where the difference is, the two halves or whatever.
Yeah, it's interesting because that's another important point. As we demonstrate to the universe that, okay, I've got this understood, or I've got this integrated into my system and I'm all good, the universe will come in and question you. Are you sure? Are you
Yes.
sure that you're good? Let's
Yes.
just shake you about a bit to see if that's really been anchored into your system as well as it could be. And I think for most of us, we're being challenged and squeezed around our first chakra, particularly because that's stability, that's support, that's safety. And if we're on a first chakra path and then we're having an big external squeeze on a first chakra, so that would make sense that it would be like maybe it was better before and like it's not so stable now because we're being squeezed in this particular spot. But I compare that to like when we do the poses, like when I invite you to go to that edge of sweet discomfort where you're tugging on the connective tissue and there's more prana running through your system, you're actually destabilizing that chakra before you restabilize it and strengthen it. So destabilization is something that can precede greater stabilization, if that makes sense.
Well, it does, except I feel like it's just been well, I'm on a second chakra path, but with the first chakra, I feel like it has been destabilized most of my life. And
right.
So it gets even more destabilized. And it's like, well, when is it going to stabilize?
Well, you know, I just want to notice something that you said earlier and sort of acknowledge it for you, because you said that other people around you seem to be even more challenged than you are. And that could be thanks to all of the choices that you've made in your history to have the practices and have the tools to sort of lean into right now in these times when it is stressed and it is challenged. Because, you know, the truth is we don't know where we would be without the practices.
I do.
Oh, you do? You know that it would not be as supported as that was.
I was there before, so I know where I would be.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you do know. So yeah, and I think that another thing that comes to mind is one of my teachers said to me a long time ago when I was like, you know, I've been doing these practices and I've like got a little bit of improvement, but it's not enough. I want more improvement. When am I just going to have complete, you know, elevation and I'm flying above the clouds? Like, when's that going to happen? And, you know, she said to me, it's really spiritual practice. If you think of it as like one grain of sand at a time, one grain of sand out of the pile of habitual patterns or negativity or worry or fear into the pile of peace and harmony, and you know that you're doing this one grain of sand at a time, then in the grand scheme of your many, many incarnations, it's going to add up. And I do feel that in the grand scheme of our many incarnations, this sort of work and these sorts of conversations really is what we're in a body to do, is to really discover our divinity and our innate empowerment and the truth of our essential nature. And that work, therefore, is the most important work to do in a body. And it's bringing our body with us in that transmutation journey.
Yeah,
So,
well, I hope it becomes a little bit lighter so it's easier to carry. I can tell you that.
well, we'll set that intention and we'll hold that space, Giovanni, for you and for all of us, for that to be the opportunity and the possibility. And I have to say, like in these conditions right now, a lot of us are kind of feeling a lot of weight of things. But I'm an optimist, as you know, and
Yes.
I do feel like we're in the birth canal and we're going to come through the other side, and then we're going to be newborn babies, and then we're going to be able to restructure and create our internal reality and our external reality as we choose it. So now more than ever, it's important to have the tools and have the understanding for how we can do that. Is that good, Giovanni?
Yeah, except I didn't want to be born the first time, so I am not thrilled about being in the birth canal again.
Right. So we'll save the feeling of feeling thrilled for the birth then.
But better than being a bug.
There you go. All right, Giovanni, thank you for your
Thank you.
input. Shannon, are you there? Shannon, I don't know if you are able to unmute yourself. So Shannon can't speak. But I do want to say, first of all, thank you, Shannon, for helping me yesterday. Shannon helped me with things that are going on with my body that are unexpected and interesting to have arrived at this particular time. And any kind of support and any kind of help that we can get to go through this birthing process, through this evolutionary journey, I would encourage you to get it. She can't be heard, she said. So that was Shannon. Maybe if I unmute, maybe you can't unmute. That's Shannon.
Now? Can you hear me now?
Aha, there you are. There you are. So welcome.
Okay.
Did you want to answer those questions for me?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to be a part of it if I could.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, so thank you for the props on the healing.
Yes.
And anybody that's interested in healing and working with crystals, it could be supportive during this time, and I'm happy to support you, and I'd love to give you 20% off, and you could connect through Michelle if you're interested, and my place is in San Mateo. So anyway, there's a little advertisement.
Well, I just want to say about the crystals. Can I just say about the crystals? It was quite fascinating yesterday. Shannon gave me different crystals to hold in my hand, and they speak to you. Well, they were speaking to me in terms of the ways in which they wanted to support me. And one of the crystals in the masculine principle was really supportive of releasing and letting go of what needs to be shared, the mental patterns, the mental structures, even the emotional structures that need to go. And the other crystal felt very feminine in its energy and very nurturing in bringing in, light and healing. So the crystals have a whole reality and world of their own, and ways in which they can support that is probably consistent and also unique with each individual. So I'm a supporter of modalities, and I'm a supporter of, reaching out and finding whatever support and whatever modality is helpful for you on your journey. I offer a certain pathway, but it's certainly not the only pathway. And I encourage you to seek out others to see if their pathways or their tools are resonating for you at this time. So, sorry, Shannon.
Oh, no, that's okay. So, yeah, I mean, I do feel like it goes well with the work that Michelle does, because it's very intuitive work, and it would, resonate with each person differently. And usually what I do with the crystals is I will check the pendulum before or when you're in to see what crystals are resonating with you in the moment. So it's different every time too, just like we are every time. But I feel like this course, I would have to say that this course was more of an intermediate course from my perspective. I feel like there was a lot of information, and because I personally have been in intuitive work for a long time, for me it was okay until I had some challenges with my apartment being flooded. Then I was having issues sort of keeping up with the practices daily. But I do feel like the presence practice is really beneficial, because I feel like presence alone just really increases awareness. And when you're in the present moment, you're super connected to your awareness and your intuition, I feel like even stronger. So I really liked going back to that practice in your course. And I do feel like I agree with, I forget who said the way that it was laid out, how it said module. I feel like if it was per week, it would have been easier for me too, but I also have very old technology. So some of my technology was having issues getting some of the info printed or downloaded the same way, but I know it's my technology. So, and I feel like that was really cool was, for me personally, it helped me with my listening skills, or it attuned my ear chakras more. So I was more in tune with hearing through intuition, which is something that's new for me. And I think what I wanted to hear more of, with the others in the class, was sort of how their intuitions, and I think we did this more in the beginning, but more of how they were getting little subtleties or how their intuitions were working as the time was going on. I think that I was curious about that. And then there's nothing really that I'd like to see less of. I just feel like I would consider it more intermediate, but really, really good and awesome and brilliant as always. And I just wanted to share one quote that I heard from Michael Beckwith a long time ago. He's connected to the Agape Church and, the law of attraction and all that. I like what he said, and it helps me a lot when I get into the negative spaces, or if I get in fear of I'm thinking a negative thought, I'm going to create it, blah, blah, blah. He said, one positive thought is 1,000 times stronger than one negative thought.
Love that.
And so for me, I always keep that in my mind, because yes, the subconscious can be negative and it needs healing and it needs to come up to be healed. But when we're getting into one negative thought, if we have one positive thought, it's going to override it 1,000 times. So it's a very uplifting and brings me out of fear quickly. So just wanted to share it.
That's great. I love that. It's kind of like a visual, okay, so if the scale's like this and we're thinking the negative thoughts, and that, what you described there, I think is really a challenge. When we catch ourselves in a negative thought, to not like then go, oh no, I've had a negative thought, and go deeper down and then start like beating up on ourselves because we've had a negative thought, and then we take it further down and further down. If we can catch it and then just elevate it in the moment and know that it's flying up to the sky with 1,000 times more power, that's a lovely image to kind of, you know, compensate for how we can spiral down if we automatically go into then, you know, not wanting to have the negative thought and then beating ourselves up because we've got the negative thought, and then getting
Yeah.
kind of locked in that
Mhm.
particular spot. So
Because
that's
I feel like sometimes when you're doing that deeper work, then the negativity starts to come up to be healed and released. And then sometimes we may get afraid of like, oh my gosh, all that negativity that I have or something, but not attaching to it and knowing that it's like, you know, you're releasing it and that you can choose this positive thought to like override so much of that. So I just, yeah, I feel like that's a big thing that when we're doing healing that we get into, or at least what I've seen with people, and just being afraid of the negative part or the negative thought is, like you say, you know, going down that spiral. So yeah.
Thank you, Shannon. And, you know, I know we've come up to our time, we've gone over time, but I do want to just say that, you know, for years and years, I was working with clients and I really wanted an opportunity to have like a camera on my shoulder so that everyone could see, yes, we can choose our thoughts, Karen. This is what we're doing. We're learning how to choose our thoughts. So the reason I wanted a camera on my shoulder is so that everyone could see that they're not the only one, right? We're not the only one that goes into this spiral or goes into this worry or goes into this beating themselves up or having these negative experiences. And so that's why I think that having this format and having this conversation is so useful. It's really useful to me to get the feedback to know how I can make the courses better for you. But I'm hopeful that it's helpful for you guys too to kind of understand what we go through, what we each go through in our journey, in our healing journey, and in our ability to grow this sacred dance that we do in a human body to connect to our spiritual essence is all about our evolution and our growth. And as I said earlier, I feel like it's where the rubber hits the road. It's the most important work that we do and the most sacred work that we can do. And quite often, we don't have a lot of understanding of the mechanism of how it actually works and what it's actually like and what it's actually like for other people. So I'm super grateful to all of you guys for participating in the course, for sharing from your heart and sharing with others what your experience has been like and what you struggle with, because I think it's extremely valuable and extremely helpful. So namaste. Thank you so much for participating, for showing up the way that you have. I'll keep you posted. I've put in the course in module 7, week 7, for all of the ways in which we can stay in touch, all of the things that I'm continuing to offer for free, and I'm going to continue to offer more courses and more classes and more practices, and obviously I'll keep you informed with all of that. So with that being said, I want to say thank you, namaste, bye for now. And we will continue on our journey in various different forms. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Shannon, Giovanni, Karen, Karina, Melissa, everybody. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.